Make sure that's working. Okay, so we're recording now. This is Finances and Funding for Your Future on October 13th for our Wisdom Wednesday event. And we're so excited to have two people here with us today. Tanika Edmonds from our Prosperity Center, who's going to be going over all kinds of wonderful resources as you kind of financially plan for your future, as well as Ella Peterson from Financial Aid. And they're excited to share their resources with you. So I'd like to go ahead and pass it over to Tanika, who will kind of kick it off for us.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for just making time today to invest in your financial future. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And you should be able to see that now. Am I clear, Kristy? So again, today we're going to go over financial planning, your money and your future. And my name is Tanika Edmonds. I'm the financial coach here in the Prosperity Center. So just to give you a little bit about me, I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. I moved here in 2017. I have two sons. One is a 22-year-old Marine in Okinawa, Japan, and Isaiah is at Blue Valley Northwest in Overland Park, and he graduates in May. In my private time, I'm a published author and content creator, and I love writing. I usually write inspirational and motivational material on social media. As far as my career, I've been in the financial industry for over 15 years. I have my FINRA licenses, so I used to sell mutual funds and stocks and all that fun stuff. And so I've held my Series 6, 63, and annuity licenses, and I'm also a certified financial literacy trainer. And I'm FDIC Smart Money certified, which is what we do here, teaching financial literacy. And I've always loved working in the community. So that's what I do and who I am. At the Prosperity Center, we are here for you. So please, I know you've been busy here at the beginning of the school year, but when you're able to, please come and make time to meet with us. The services here we offer free. We provide one-on-one individualized coaching, whether you're needing assistance with employment or financial education or creating budgets. Our services are what we consider bundled. So at different times, whenever you need us, we're here. But sometimes people come in and they only need like resume assistance or wanting to do mock interviews. But just know that all of those services are here and available to you at the Prosperity Center. So there's no geographic boundary. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter how much money you have. We are here to serve you. And even after school and after graduation, it's a long-term engagement, meaning we usually ask people who actually want to be a part of the Prosperity Center, our clients, to participate in our program for at least 5 years. That way we can really, partner with you and walk along this journey as you continue to build your savings and work on retirement. So if you'd like to schedule an appointment with me, I work around your schedule. We can just do via Zoom, talk on the phone, or if you'd like to come over to the Prosperity Center, we definitely will accommodate you. And again, our services are budgeting and savings, asset building, long-term care, and helping make referrals over to you for employers. So we are a place of resource, and we provide income support services. So if you are needing food stamps or other resources in the community, depending on what your needs are, let us be one of your first or second phone calls because we have access to those resources. So now moving on, financial planning 101. So of course today, this is what we want to talk about. And I have some financial tips and things that I want to share with you. But before that, I think it's important that we understand like why, like what's the big deal about financial planning. I'm so glad that you asked. So financial planning is what I actually call, or financial literacy is preventative maintenance. We don't wait until something happens before we actually figure out a plan. We need to know already ahead of time how to manage our finances and to avoid those hiccups. And so this particular image, I would say that this is the one thing that Rockhurst University does not want to see for our students as you are walking across that stage. We don't want to see you just weighed down in debt and credit card debt. So here's a few tips that I'm providing for you that I just want you to think about today. And again, we have a short amount of time to actually go over some things today, but I want you to walk away remembering these 10 most important tips. And one, that's you need to schedule a time to meet with me. You have access to a financial coach that is free, that can cover every area that you can think of as far as your financial needs as a college student and as a graduate moving on to be a professional. Outside of Rockhurst University, or if for those who don't take advantages of our services, a financial coach is usually $75 to $600 per hour for a 1 hour session. That's the cost. So why not utilize this while we're here? Secondly, it's important as far as a tip is that you understand what is influencing your spending, because we don't understand what's attached to that. And so we're going to go over that a little bit today. Also, avoid the disappearing act of money is what I call it. And it just means having a plan. If you don't have a plan, then that's when you'll spend money and you don't realize where it all went. Also, it's important that you identify your money personality, and we'll go into that a little bit. We all have a different personality. Sometimes in that personality assessment, we actually have several, but you need to know what that is. If you haven't learned today, we're going to just go over it briefly. And then just learning how to create a budget and then managing your budget, because it will change and it will fluctuate. But if you get the fundamentals down pat, then you will be so much further ahead than a lot of people. Also, saving money now, you're probably wondering how can you do that, but it is possible. And understanding and establishing credit. I didn't know what credit was until it had a negative impact in my life. I never knew what it was. So we want you to avoid the mistakes that we've made. And then also avoiding or eliminating debt, fraud prevention, and then something that I made up that I feel is very important to Rockhurst and to me is self-care. They were just recently talking to us about self-care, but self-care and financial care, in my opinion, is wealth and wellness. That is one great example of that. So what are some of the influences that causes us to spend money? And we don't realize it, but Ayn Rand said money is only a tool. It will take you wherever you wish, but it's not going to replace you as the driver. You have to be responsible for your money. And so it's the media and advertisements. How many times have we been at home and we weren't hungry until we saw that pizza commercial? And you're like, you know what? I think I'm going to take on these pounds. I think I'm going to go ahead and get me a pizza for tonight. There are so many different things that influences us to go buy a shoe or to go out and get a bike that sits in my garage. Am I talking about you or me? Maybe I'm talking about myself here, but there's so many different influences, even on social media. And if we don't have a budget in place and if we don't have a plan, then that's another way where money can escape us and we have no idea where it went or how it went so quickly. So one of the things I've written down is you have to know what your triggers are. Triggers are those things that can cause you to spend the money that you have even though you didn't plan. So for some of us, it could be boredom. We don't have anything else to do, so we're going to run to the store. Every time I run to Target, I get in trouble. So, I have to know those things about myself. Also hanging around with other friends who are shoppers. Everyone's budget and their income is different. So we can't always do what our friends do. And we can't be too proud to say, I can't do that right now. It's more mature to say, well, I'm really on a budget. I can't do that yet. Versus you feeling like, well, they have money or their family have money and I do not. It's okay to be where you are and be confident in that because you have a plan. And that's what's most important. And also, I wrote, if it wasn't your plan to buy it before you left your dorm, consider what all will be impacted when you return. And we don't think about those things. I remember being around your age, getting paid on Friday, and then Sunday night when I wanted to sit down and go over my bills, I had spent over 60% of my paycheck. I did that. These are my confessions. So let's talk about like, where are you spending your money? Now, this may not be you. Maybe this is a friend. I didn't come on here to blame anybody, but let's just talk about the PS5. So Lexington Law said that the average teenager spends $2,150 a year. So for my 17-year-old who thinks he never has money, Lexington Law said someone here on Rockhurst campus is spending about $2,000 a year. In doing a little bit more research, we found that 54% of teens prefer Amazon as their top shopping website. With fast deliveries, the prices are affordable. It's just a variety of options. It's like shopping around the world without having to buy a plane ticket. And I get it. Also, 11% of teens are spending money on video games. I'm not sure what you guys do for fun when you're done studying. But the number one category of what college age students spend their money on, this is for boys, is food. For 2021, the majority of the cost was food. I'm guilty of that. I've been watching it, but Chick-fil-A get me in trouble. So we just want to be mindful of that. And then the first step to financial health, of course, is again, knowing your money personality, which is something I briefly hit on. So what are some of the things that drives your decisions? What are your spending impulses? If you take a moment to look at the categories that hit money personality, are you a saver? Do you think before you spend, you have money sitting in a savings account? Will you make a sacrifice and wait until you actually budget versus just spending? Or are you a spender, which is what I was the majority of my life? I worried about the consequences afterwards. I would justify it for the different things that was happening in my life. I felt like I deserved it or I worked hard for it. And so a spender is not always balanced. And then a worrier can go to the extreme. They may actually need something, but will not, purchase the things that they need to buy. Or when they spend money, they're always worrying. Or they rob Peter to pay Paul, meaning they'll take one bill to cover another bill, and they don't actually have a plan. And then also lastly is the avoider. They will just act like the bill doesn't exist. And then they will deal with it when there's a disconnect, or when maybe their phone's already off, or are finding themselves having to go to check cashing places, which we highly recommend that you do not go to those places, or even title loans. I have done that. I really don't know too much in these presentations that I haven't done, but I've learned the hard way. And so I always say, I'm not telling you what I've learned, I'm telling you what I know. So figure out, which one of these are your personalities, so that it will come to mind the next time that you spend, and knowing that these are habits that maybe there's something that you want to work on, and that's okay. So if we think about money, whether the money is plastic or paper, you have to have a financial goal set for you. And I don't know if I can pronounce this correctly, but Amrita J. Kumar, who's with NerdWallet, said internal beliefs are formed by your childhood experiences, so the community you grew up in and the habits and those around you. So when I grew up, I really didn't see people valuing money. So I did not realize until I started to earn it myself and see what my responsibilities were and what my goals that I had set for myself, that I actually began to value the money that I have. Let's actually get into creating a budget. Like, how do you create a budget? First of all, do not let it intimidate you. It doesn't matter if you have money now or for tomorrow. This is a skill, and this is information that you need now. This is the information that you need today. So I will show you an example of a budget for a moment, but briefly here, you want to create a list of the expenses or bills that you have. In covering this PowerPoint presentation on last Saturday, many of the students had, of course, a cell phone bill at least, if not like an insurance bill. So no matter how many bills you have, you really want to make sure that you list what income you have, either for that week, bi-weekly, or monthly, and make a list of what those things are. You can write them down. You can create a spreadsheet in Excel. If you need a spreadsheet, I've already created one for you guys. I'm just waiting for you to come over. I will customize it for you. We will plug in what your bills are. It's already set to pre-calculate for you with, set. It's already set up to calculate for you guys, just to let you know. So it's very convenient if you don't want to write yours out, which I still do at home. But then secondly, you need to identify disposable income. All of your income is not just for use. Disposable income is the money that you actually are going to have left over after you've paid your bills and after you've saved, which really you want to save first, pay your bills, take care of those responsibilities. And then after those two things, whatever's remaining is your disposable income that you can actually put towards other expenses and needs. Thirdly, you want to assign a priority to your spending. Sometimes you may have several bills due within the same week, responsibilities here at school or clubs. So you have to prioritize, and sometimes you do that by date, like what's due by this time. Sometimes you may have to actually separate out and make payments where over the next 4 weeks, I'm going to pay this amount towards this bill. So in your planning, strategic planning is equally important when you're working on your budget. And then also making sure that you save your money. Even if you put aside $5 or $10, money is money and it accumulates. So I would encourage you to create a savings account if you haven't already. If you feel like you don't have enough money for an account, although there are many banks that offer free student accounts and accounts that are interest earning, put it in a jar or buy a safe at Walmart, a small safe with a key, and you can keep saving at home or in your dorm room. So to show you visually, what does my budget, like what does a financial plan actually looks like? Is my budget a financial plan? Yes. So basically your budget is your income minus your expenses. So to break it down for you, if your gross pay was about $125 a week in your paycheck, after taxes and federal, state, and taxes, depending, it's different for each one, depending on your county and your age. But let's say your net is $100. Well, I wanted to quickly show you how easily our money can be depleted. If you have $100 that you're working with and you go buy clothes because you need them, it's getting cold, you need a coat, and you need new shoes. Then let's say you go to Chick-fil-A. Now, of course, I had to put Chick-fil-A, but whatever works for you. I can't think of any fast food place where you can feed yourself without paying almost $10 after taxes. Then let's deduct a personal item that you need. Maybe you ran out of shampoo or you need toothpaste or whichever. And then lastly, just snacks. You're off campus, you're with some friends, you're hungry, you grab something for $5.75. Now you're down to $11.25 and it hasn't even been 24 hours. So that's why it's important to have a budget plan so that you can actually see, okay, this is what I have. And instead of keeping all of your money with you on your persons, instead of, having it with you, maybe leave it in the bank or, leave it somewhere safe. So then you won't be tempted to spend what you don't have. So it's all about discipline. So next are just a few budget worksheet examples that I found. Again, I have created a custom one for you that's already formatted and has the formulas included in there, but I wanted to show you two of the budget sheets that I'm actually really seeing out there here currently for students, and everyone's expenses are different, but the budget form on the left side just shows, again, a student's income. I wouldn't necessarily provide like annual, but that's here, but whatever your weekly or monthly budget is, as well as your expenses. You may not have student like payments that you need to make just yet as it relates to your tuition. Everyone's different. But again, it just shows you how you would customize, enter in what your expenses are, what your income is, and then deducting that at the end so that you can see and know what your net income is and what you're saving. It's the same as the teen budget worksheet to your right: groceries, snacks, and dining out. And again, when we do not create a plan where we can visually see where our money is being allocated out, it's really hard to stick with the plan and a budget if you're not working it. And a lot of these worksheets you can find online free. But again, I would encourage you to call me. I really like to help you through that process. You don't have to be a client for that. I'll do that for you guys here at Rockhurst. And again, because of our limited time, I kind of provided what I saw that I thought out here was great for you all. And then also values, hopes, and dreams. Even though we don't have time to go into it, I wanted you to know about SMART goals and how, again, as you're working on your budget, make sure that you set a specific goal for yourself. Is it measurable if you're wanting to save or pay off a debt? Is it achievable? Is it something that you can do, or is it outside of your means? Do you need to come to the Prosperity Center and learn about other resources? That is what we're here for. And then make sure it's realistic. Whatever the goal you have for yourself, like you have for school, you need to have realistic financial goals. Meaning, if you want to eventually save for a car, I think that's awesome. Come and talk to the Prosperity Center. We can, walk you through that process. But is it realistic for you to get a 2021 Bugatti? Probably not, or whatever your kind of car is. That's not realistic. And then time bound, whatever your financial goal is set for yourself to prevent you from becoming frustrated. You want to make sure that you set a realistic goal that you can actually reach. So again, that's specific, measurable, action oriented. Is it achievable? Can you reach it? And what's the time limit? Like, what's the time goal you have for yourself? Just know when you create your financial plan, it can change, and that's okay. We do it all the time. So maybe your circumstances changed. Maybe you won the lottery. That's something that we'd love to know so we can help you manage it. Are you saving weekly? And have you saved up emergency money, which is really, really important, especially we're moving into the winter. You might need a new tire, a tune-up, anything. You need to have emergency money. And anytime your goal doesn't feel important to you anymore, then you need to change that and move on to a goal that is relative to where you are and to what you need. And then lastly, just as a review, and first let me just do our plug, contact the Prosperity Center because that's what we're here for. You don't have to do it alone, and you can work with your friend, and that's great. But it's really great to have a financial coach that can keep things confidential and that you can use as a sounding board as well. So remember all the things that influences how or what or why you spend money. What is your financial goal? What's going to be the impact if you do spend? Is this actually a need or a want? And then should you save for it instead? If there's something that you want, no problem at all. But that doesn't mean you have to have it today. So it's about prioritizing. So again, there's so much information here, and I'd love to go more in depth with it with you. So we can always hold another workshop later off-site, or I can meet with you one-on-one. But thank you so much again for your time. I'm Tanika Edmonds, and go Hawks.
Thank you so much, Tanika. That was awesome. I loved learning about the money personality and how you related it to SMART goals, just in terms of talking about financial wellness for everyone. Yeah, I wish I would have had that when I was younger, when I was in college. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I love that students can go to you and get these worksheets, and these are already set up for them. I mean, oh, that's so awesome. Can you remind all of the students who might be watching this recording or participating today where the Prosperity Center is located? I know that's something that we get questioned about a lot.
Absolutely. The Prosperity Center is right next to Go Chicken Go off of 51st and True. So we're in a parking garage, and you may see the sign that reads Truman, but just come down a little bit further. That is where we're located. And if you want to set an appointment, you can call me at 816-501-4252, or you can go to the website under Prosperity Center and schedule to meet with me then. Again, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tanika. That was wonderful. All right, we're excited to kind of kick it over to Ella Peterson now in our financial aid office as we kind of continue this conversation on different resources and different financial wellness activities and resources we have on our campus here at Rockhurst, which we're very blessed to have. So I will turn it over to Ella now, and we'll go from there. Thanks for being here, Ella.
Hello, Tanika. I was taking notes. I was like, I didn't know that there was like different kinds of this. And I'm like, well, what am I? What's my husband? So that was super informative and I'm really excited about it. So, okay, let me get my screen share. Oh, beautiful. Let's see. So, kind of going over general, like long-term things about financial aid, nothing super specific here. My overview here, we're going to look at the types of financial aid. So that's going to include everything from loans and grants and scholarships, FAFSA, fun stuff. Have some resources in here for you. Want to do a brief chat on satisfactory academic progress. I know that that can be kind of convoluted, so wanted to chat about that. And then have all of the contact info for our office, as well as some time for questions if we have them. So to kind of start it off, the different types of financial aid. So you're going to have federal loans. Those are going to be what come from your completion of the FAFSA. So you have to be FAFSA eligible to receive them, which primarily is going to be for US citizens and eligible non-citizens. We can definitely chat more one-on-one to find out what category you fit in if that's something that you need. Private loans as the second option. So those are going to be from private companies not related to the FAFSA. It's a different application. Grant funding, so money that you don't have to pay back, which is always a good thing to have. Outside scholarships, and then institutional scholarships. So institutional is going to be all of those funds that Rockhurst have to be able to help you here. So first things first is the FAFSA. This is super standard. It's pretty much looks the same every single year. It's free to complete it. And it determines your eligibility. So that's going to be everything from how much loan funding you're eligible for and what your grant funding looks like. So the way that that's kind of determined is based on tax information. So if you're a dependent student, that means parents' tax info. If you work, the FAFSA still has you put in your information, but the calculations are based on the family income. Whereas if you're an independent student, that's going to be based on solely your income or your and your spouse's income, just depending on kind of your familial makeup. The FAFSA for the 22-23 school year is open October 1st. So highly recommend get that done as soon as you possibly can. The priority deadline, so that's going to be the deadline that we have to receive the maximum amount of aid that you're eligible to is February 1st. So still have some time, but just complete that when you can. As a note on here, I do have the FAFSA uses what's called prior tax information. So that's not going to be last year, but the year before. So for 22-23 academic year, so next school year starting in August, it will use 2020 tax information. So just wanted to kind of make it known. As far as the federal loans go, these are available to anyone that has the eligibility up into a certain amount. So doesn't have anything to do with your credit history. You know, when I first started, I was 18, I had no credit, but was able to utilize these federal loans. Two different kinds that we typically see. One of those are the subsidized loans. So these are the loans that we want to use first if you're planning on using one. It's great because the government is paying the interest on those while you are enrolled in school and attending. Whereas the unsubsidized loans, that starts accruing interest while you're enrolled. Not that you have to pay it back, it just starts to add up on top of each other. So that's why we want to use the subsidized loans first. If you are deciding to utilize those federal loans, there are a couple things that have to happen before we're able to actually receive the loan funding. So as of this year, you have to complete a master promissory note, which the short of that is you understand and agreeing to the fact that you do have to pay back those loans. And entrance counseling kind of complements that. Entrance counseling is okay, so this is what it means that I'm accepting loans. This is what this is going to look like in the future. This is what repayment kind of looks like. So it's meant to kind of paint this nice picture of, hey, this is some information and knowledge that you have before you take on this debt. Now, new for next school year, so starting in August, is something called the Annual Student Loan Acknowledgement. This is something that, unlike the master promissory note and entrance counseling, those are things that you complete once. The annual student loan acknowledgement is completed every single year. The Department of Education is doing this to just kind of help make sure that everyone is on the same page with the amount of aid that you've taken out, the amount of loans that you'll be required to pay back. So it's just meant to kind of keep you aware of what your personal situation is looking like as you progress through school. As far as the grants go, so to be eligible for grants, you have to complete a FAFSA. That's kind of standard, run-of-the-mill, how things are kind of calculated. The Pell Grant, something that you might heard of, all of these are based on what's called your expected family contribution, or your EFC. And that's basically the Department of Education saying, based on how much your family makes and how many people live in your household and how many of those people are in college, all of these different factors that you provide on the FAFSA, they're saying, okay, so this is how much we think your family might be able to contribute to your education. It isn't always accurate, but it's just the formula that they use to come up with some sort of standardized formal process to evaluate everyone equally. So Pell Grant, the Missouri Access Grant, and SCOG, all of these are grant funds that are based on your EFC. So depending on how much need that you have will depend on how much of these funds you'll be eligible for. The Missouri Access Grant specifically, you have to be a Missouri resident, and you absolutely must complete your FAFSA by that priority deadline I mentioned, which is on here as well, February 1st of 2022. So if you are a Missouri resident, definitely make sure to get that done so we can try and get you as much free aid as we possibly can. I also wanted to mention federal work study. This is part of one of the federal programs. So to be eligible for work study, you do have to complete a FAFSA. It is contributing to your financial aid award, so we have to have that information. But basically, it is providing, the government is contributing to your ability to be employed by the university. So basically, you're getting paid just like a paycheck. You're paid every 2 weeks. It's not something that is applied to your bill. Rather, you're earning an income. It just helps the university with the government kind of supplementing some of those wages. In terms of private loans, these are going to be a good option if we have a gap in between the federal aid and scholarships we're offered and what your bill is, or for those folks that aren't FAFSA eligible. Private loans are kind of going to be our next option. I included the link in here. These are our preferred vendors. So these are folks with this web link that we work with often. It's going to be everybody from Citizen Bank to Discover different companies have different benefits and things that they like and advertise. And it's great because this Elm Select website kind of allows you to compare one to another to see which might work best for you. If you have questions on private loans specifically, definitely come chat with us. But this is kind of a great starting point to see the different options that are out there and what that might look like for you. And of course, before you do anything, definitely consider the fact that all of these loans have to be repaid. The grants do not, but the loans do. So almost all students, like this says, graduate with some form of student loan debt. We don't want that to be a scary thing. We just want to make sure that you're going into the process and making the commitment, understanding the implications of what this means moving forward. Alrighty, so outside scholarships. This is a big one that our office gets questions on, and there's no, perfect, easy, oh yeah, here are all of these scholarships that everyone's eligible for. So many scholarships, outside scholarships, are going to be based on super specific, or sometimes not, of your circumstances. So whether that be you're a business major or a psychology major, or you want to go to med school, or maybe you have a family member that's a survivor of cancer, or you yourself are. The craziest one I've seen is I've seen a scholarship for specifically left-handed individuals from Nebraska. So, I mean, there really are kind of a little bit of everything out there. It's just a matter of finding them. These 3 resources are by far the ones I send out the most. All of these are legitimate resources. So they're not going to have scams listed. They're not going to sell your information. All 3 of these resources are completely legitimate and have oodles and oodles and oodles of options. It's just a matter of kind of wading through, seeing what's going to apply to you specifically in your circumstances. Something specific I want to note about outside scholarships is that typically the application for scholarships that's open like currently this year, those are going to be applying for the 22-23 year, so next year. So they typically, kind of like the FAFSA, those applications are completed the year prior to when the funds actually apply to your account. In addition to these, a few other kind of tips and tricks. If any scholarship that you are applying for asks for some kind of application fee or super specific personal information like your social security number or things like that, I would definitely not suggest moving forward with those. If you are for certain that, hey, this is definitely something I think is legitimate, feel free to send our office an email so we can kind of check it out, see if we've ever heard of them, worked with them, and determine if they are legitimate or more fraudulent. And outside those other 3 resources that I had mentioned, church groups and community organizations both, oftentimes that's where we see mass amounts of our scholarships coming from. So those organizations that you're involved with, whether it be here in Kansas City or back home, those are going to be great places to kind of look for some resources, see what funding is available, or if those folks know anyone that has scholarship opportunities you might be eligible for. All righty, satisfactory academic progress. So sometimes this is abbreviated as SAP or SAP. This is something that we calculate every year at the end of the term. So once we get your final grades in, we take a look to make sure you are still eligible for aid moving forward. There is 2 components of satisfactory academic progress. One of those is maintaining a 2.0 GPA minimum, and then the other is passing at least 60 of the courses that you enroll in. So not passing would look like either failing the class, I know that seems a little bit obvious, or withdrawing from a class where there's like a W on your transcript. So that can be something that can be kind of tricky to balance, and you don't always know exactly for certain what those impacts might be to your financial aid. So if you're considering dropping a class, or if you're nervous about what your grades might turn out, please holler at us. We might not be able to give you a 100 million% concrete answer, but we can ration, reason, kind of go over some different scenarios with you of what the future implications might be. There are 3 kind of phases of SAP. So if you weren't maintaining or meeting that 2.0 GPA, if you hadn't passed 67% of your classes, we notify you before the beginning of the next semester, and you first have a warning semester. So this is going to look like nothing with your aid necessarily changes, unless it were to be something with one of those academic scholarships. That's not specifically SAP related, so we can definitely chat about that if you have questions. But that warning period is specifically for satisfactory academic progress. So we're not going to take away scholarships, take away your federal aid or your grants within that warning phase. Moving forward, if you weren't to have satisfied the 2.0 GPA or be passing 67% of those courses, then we, the next phase of that is losing your federal and state aid. So that's going to be federal loans, any of those Pell, SUG, Missouri Access Grants, your work study. That's the next impact section. After that semester, if you hadn't been able to meet that 67% or get your GPA up to the 2.0, then at that point, you would also lose those institutional scholarships. So it kind of is tiered, trying to provide options and opportunities to work with our office, to work with Kristy and Matt, to work with your advisor, all of these wonderful people that we all want to support you to meet these goals and get you back where you're eligible for aid. It's something that once you meet those goals again, you're eligible for aid again. It doesn't go away forever. So it just is a matter of making sure that you're maintaining those and satisfying those 2 requirements. This is our contact info. So I listed the general financial aid contact information, which we have a wonderful human named Stephanie that kind of gets her eyes on everything first. Then if she can't answer the question, she passes it along to the counselors. We currently are in process of hiring a new counselor for that last portion of the alphabet. But in the meantime, please, you can holler at me, you can contact Allie or that general financial aid email, and somebody will help you out. We're more than happy to do that. Last names A through G. Hi, hello, I am your counselor. Last names H through O is Allie. She is fantastic. We've both been here less than a year, but we are happy to be here and excited to do all the learning. Brett Ferguson is our graduate student financial services counselor, so he handles all those grad students. Maureen McKinnon, she is the assistant director, so she is kind of the point person for satisfactory academic progress. And then Jennifer Wright is the director of student financial services. So that's kind of a general makeup of our office, and all of those contact info are listed there. So please give us a holler. Any questions, we're really happy to help. And if you have specific questions, I know kind of how it goes, that sometimes it's like, well, this doesn't exactly apply to me. What about this thing? Holler at us. I'd be happy to go over any questions that you may have.
Ella, thank you so much. That was wonderful information. And I'm sure that students really appreciated hearing too about the outside scholarships that they can apply to and the legit sites that they can go visit. I think that's always a concern. And I like what you said about all three of the Big Future, Sally Mae, and Career One Stop. So thank you for sharing those. When we send out all of the links to everybody who wanted to watch the recording of this, we'll include those just so people have them moving ahead. And really good point about churches. And yeah, I just loved all of that. And what a really good resource too, just to be able to come speak with you if they do have questions about their financial aid, which can be kind of confusing at times, right? So
it is, it's an absolute beast. So like, please come ask questions. That's exactly what I'm here for. I promise I'm not super scary. Like, I'd be happy to chat.
Not scary at all. Both of you are wonderful. Ella and Tanika, thank you so much. Again, we're so blessed to have both of you here on campus. My name is Kristy. I am a student success coach. We also have Matt Emory, who is a student success coach. And so if you need any of these resources today, you can obviously reach out to Ella or Tanika directly. But if you maybe forget and you're not sure who to reach out to, please start with us. We will connect you, get you set up with appointments. That's what we're here to do. Does anybody on this call have any comments or questions before we end today's workshop? Okay, no? All right, we're all set then. So join us next time. We will move into 2 more Wisdom Wednesdays this semester that will be on Zoom and recorded as well. One will be on October 27th at 2 o'clock. And that will be how to register for classes. We'll walk you through kind of the major questions that we have before that kind of starts with one of our advisors. And then we will also have on Wednesday, November 3rd, tips for time and stress management as you head into studying for finals and everything. So as you can see, all of us are really focused on one of our missions here, care of the whole person, cura personalis, and really making sure that you feel good in all these areas of your life. So reach out to us with questions, and thank you again to Tanika and Ella for joining us today. Bye.